did you go from programming calculators to cryptography at the NSA to crypto assets and then to Ripple?
I guess I discovered Bitcoin in 2011. I had been working on cryptography for secure messaging, cloud storage for customers like the NSA and various governments and military organizations. It's a distributed identity system that makes compliance easier. Compliance is a cost center for companies today, and it's irritating for consumers that they have to, like with exchanges, they have to turn over their identifying documents to an exchange, and they may not even know whether that exchange is trustworthy. So an identity system that keeps identity in the hands of consumers, multi-signature, and then dealing with regulatory issues and compliance, that's...
Newspaper published this previously secret warrant demanding the information for all of Verizon's almost 100 million subscribers. But James Bamford, who has written several books in the group responsible for the surveillance, the National Security Agency, says it's more widespread than that.
NSA wouldn't just focus on Verizon. They're focused on the communications, and that's AT&T, Verizon, Sprint, any communications that might have information.
U.S. senators are defending the surveillance, saying it's legal under the Patriot Act they approved, it's been happening for 7 years, and it's needed to keep Americans safe from terror.
We are also joined by Mark Klein, a technician with AT&T for 22 years, who in 2006 blew the whistle on AT&T's cooperation with the National Security Agency. He's also author of Wiring Up the Big Brother Machine and Fighting It. Mark, with these revelations, what do you think is most surprised you and is most important for us to understand?
Well, of course, I feel very vindicated, and the documents reveal what I was saying back in 2003. Well, actually, I came forward in 2006, but what I discovered in 2003 was that they were tying into the main internet data stream. So these documents confirm that. There's actually a paragraph in there that talks about in September 2003, the NSA went live on the internet because of the installations at AT&T. And so I was right about that. They tried to dismiss me back then because I didn't work for the NSA. I was a little surprised I didn't know about that the program with AT&T went back to 1985, which is mentioned in the New York Times article. I'm not sure what that's about, but I assume that might be phone calls because there wasn't very much internet back in 1985. But it indicates the very close, friendly relationship between AT&T and the NSA.
Mark, can you go back? I mean, we talked to you, when was it, in 2008 on Democracy Now! Can you go back and talk about how you found what you found? What exactly was your job at AT&T?
Well, I was a communications technician. I took care of the data lines and the equipment in the central office. And in late 2002, we heard there was an installation going in at a nearby office, which turned out was an NSA installation because the NSA actually showed up at my office to interview the one guy who was not one of us, not one of the union technicians. Only that one guy who was NSA cleared could work in this room. So that told us right there that this was an NSA installation. The following year, in 2003, I was transferred to that office, 611 Folsom Street, and I was in charge of the internet room. So I got, as part of my job, I got hold of engineering documents to show what they were doing, and I actually had to hook up fiber optic cables to a cabinet which were connected down to the secret room. And the documents I got hold of showed very clearly that they were blindly sweeping up everything going across those key internet peering links, they're called, which connected AT&T's network to other companies like Quest and what have you.
So they were all collaborating, this idea of peering.
Peering is when you connect different networks together. That's how you get the internet, basically. So that meant that they were sweeping up everybody's communications, not just AT&T customers, But anybody, other companies who were not aware of this arrangement back then, they were sweeping up all that stuff without any selection, because the apparatus they were using to sweep it up with had no intelligence. It was just a blind sweep of everything, which told me right then and there that was unconstitutional.
Hope to end pickpockets in Colorado, reduce theft, and increase convenience by continuing our work on the Colorado Digital ID and My Colorado app. So My Colorado is the state of Colorado's mobile app. It is a gateway to an increasing number of state services. The new announcement today, and by the way, those services are very important. It's everything from registering to vote to securing your information, getting state updates, information on roads, all those kinds of things that you need to interact with the state. Please download the My Colorado app. But the key thing, what we from the tech side call the killer app of it, is that we are moving towards allowing this to replace your plastic ID. So today we're announcing an executive order that adds a feature to My Colorado app, and that's the Colorado Digital ID.
The technology enablers are now there, and we're going to be making that transition, just as we are into self-driving cars, into things like digital currency transactions without hardly even noticing it. For example, when you buy that cup of coffee at Starbucks and you pay on your mobile phone, it could be that the application program interface in your phone last week flipped from using your bank account to a payment system based on digital currencies. And you might have gotten a brief notice with 5 pages of fine print saying, I agree at the end. And as long as you hit that button, you just made that transition without noticing it. I think it could be at the consumer level as quick as that. That's not to say that it's simple. Hundreds of billions of dollars of technology, software and hardware, need to be built around this, particularly software, and a lot of legal work and a lot of regulatory work. And the central banks have to go along with it before it'll be allowed, because it's a concern. It's part of the money supply, and central banks will be responsible for monitoring that. And there are some countries that are thinking about it. China, Sweden, those are 2 countries that are currently contemplating introducing digital currencies at the national level through the central banks of those countries. So change is coming, and I'm very interested in studying the implications of that change.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher, and guys, please like and subscribe. If you do like what you're listening to, please inform your friends and family. It is an imperative time we get back to learning finances and understand how the world really works, because once we understand how the world really works, we know that everything is planned. The game is rigged. And guys, this is a special video. We're going to link some pieces in this video here, guys. Now, guys, I want to thank those who donated to the Cash App, Patreon members. I have something special for you tomorrow. Also, I want to thank those who bought the books, Cryptoteacher NWO book. After this video, you definitely are going to want to buy the NWO book. So therefore, you can wake up to consciousness. Now, of course, guys, we want to go over Bitcoin first. Cryptos, we know the institutional investors do what? They come in on the weekends. So, guys, make sure we're paying attention to the stable coins. XRP is our new indicator, and the volume. Now, we're going to get into the topic. Now, we saw Brad Garlinghouse on CNBC say about PayID. PayID is coming. Have over 40 companies involved in that. Basically, when you look at, you're talking about trillions and trillions of dollars in transactions when you look at those companies. And when you look at all those companies, all of them are linked in one way, sort or another. So the fact is, guys, that when we see something on CNBC, we know CNBC wants us to see it. But what do? We go behind the curtain and do research. So first, you go into, PayID, you go into the white paper. Of course, it says pay, and then it has ID. So that means that it has something to do with your identification. So when you go into the white paper, you see Hey, it has your family name, your birth certificate, your place of birth. So it has your information. It's going off the Gregorian calendar. Of course, that's the birthplace of the Vatican. We have to make sure that we know our calendar is not correct. We know that, I don't like saying devil, because devil is nothing but the evil side of man. But we know that our calendar is not correct. We know Hebrew calendar, your New Year's is around September. So we know that October is, 8. 9 is, November. And, of course, December is 10. So we know our calendar, January, February, was added later on. So, now we get into PayID. So when you actually do your research, let's go to the Digital ID 2020 Act. So when we go look at that, we see who's sponsoring that. Who's in charge of the Digital 2020 ID? Microsoft, Bill Gates, and Accenture. So when you go and look at Accenture, who has a deal with Accenture? That's right, guys, Ripple. Now we know Brad Garlinghouse said he's doing what? He's working with the man. He's working with the banks. So guys, when you see, we know Brad is nothing but a puppet. We have to make sure that we open our eyes up. He's a good-looking guy to show it, he's the puppet. We know the ugly guys in the back making things work, and that's our NSA guy, David Schwartz. They keep the ugly guy in the back. He doesn't get any TV time. But the fact is that, guys, when we look at NSA, now you saw the videos. We had AT&T, Verizon, taking all of our information. We know Snowden let all that information out. Now, why do they want all your information, guys? Why do they want all this information? Why have they always been trying to get all this information? Because the fact is, guys, we are creatures of habit. So the fact is that if they have all your information, they know what you're going to do, how you're going to do, what you said. So let's say if, the government takes it too far. You send a message. Boom. It sets up a red flag. He sent a message to so-and-so and say, look, we're going to get together as a group. And we don't appreciate this. We're going to protest. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. We look at what's going on right now. We had the C word. The C word was what? To get the repo market under control. The C word did what? The C word allowed them to throw in the mask. I showed the video where Fauci clearly said no need to wear a mask, but they have the mask. Okay, so we go to the protest. We have white people in black hoods. Black people hoods. We know white people don't belong there, but they have the mask on, so now we can't see their face. This is all a setup, guys. This is all planned for the bigger picture. So let's go into the Stanford video, where he clearly says, we need some legal work. It's happening in the back end. You're just going to hit a button, and that's what PayID is. PayID, I'm just making a payment. No, you're not just making a payment. All your identification is on there. All of it. So that's the reason why they need the legal work. What happened? They brought who? Brian Brooks in there to go ahead and write up this legal work. So guys, we see it all coming together. I just want to make sure that we understand that all this is linked up to enslave the masses. We have to understand this. Technology is great. All this technology would be wonderful. There's nothing wrong with having your ID digital sitting on your phone, but not when you have evil intentions. That's where the issue comes in at. Yes, it's great. Technology is great, but it's always good and evil. And it's like all your cartoons. You let this technology get in good hands, we can do great things with it. But if you let the technology get into the bad hands, what do they say? The pinky, the brain, they take over the world. And that's what this is about. They want to take the world over and enslave the masses. But guys, we're going to get into, the regular news. Of course, I'm just going to make this quick because I didn't want to make this video too long. I know I threw a lot at you. Now, of course, guys, we got the article about Bitcoin breakout. Just like I stated, guys, this summer is going to be big. We see the pieces moving. They're moving it all in the background, though. The masses don't care anything about this. They're not seeing it. The masses, just like the Stanford guy said, they're going to hit a button. They're going to automatically be in the system and not even know it. We have the Bank of Thailand launching their digital currency, as we know. XRPL, guys. XRPL is going to be so big, and we saw that inside of the PayID white paper. And then also, guys, we have Coinbase, Compound, DeFi. We know DeFi is going to be big. Getting over into stocks, guys, keep trading. As I said, I'm going to have something for you Patreon members. Guys, keep trading. SoFi CEO warns about day trading. Guys, make this money. If the Fed is pumping stocks, get you a piece of it. It's easy money. Also, guys, we have the House introducing a $1.5 trillion infrastructure bill. We know what? All that money is going to lead back to the big corporations. That's just their way of doing it. We have JP Morgan getting into China, guys. JP Morgan. Now, of course, what I do a few days ago, China and American Express getting into China. I already showed you JP Morgan is building the 2.0 Federal Reserve on blockchain. They're just moving the Federal Reserve onto blockchain, guys. I broke it all down for you. So, guys, let's make sure that we understand we're seeing the big picture. But that's all I have for you. Don't forget about the book Cryptoteacher, NWO book. Just like I said, guys, make sure you purchase the NWO book so therefore you can wake up to consciousness. Don't forget about, if you're new to cryptos, Binance, Bitrue, Coinbase, your stocks, chip stocks, gaming, Cobalt, your banking. Guys, never ever bet against the banks. As we can see, they're going to be controlling all the money. Remember, the system is going to go all into one coin, one global coin. Now, you see all these different moving pieces, but their whole thing is to bring it all into one. Don't forget about the biotech stocks, guys. The C word is still selling the C word. Everybody's sitting at home. Don't forget about those stocks. And of course, right now, everybody's getting free money until the end of next month. It may go on a little farther, but while they're sitting at home getting this free money, what are they doing? Drinking and smoking weed. That's right. Don't forget about those stocks. And y'all have a wonderful day.